All right, welcome to this week's live stream here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. I hope everybody is doing well today on this Sunday in most places. We definitely have some things to talk about. I just get surprised each week that there's more Bilt to talk about, but this might be the final roundup for us, at least until we see what goes on this year. So we're going to talk about that as the lead story. We're also going to talk about the transition of Barclays to Citi as far as the American Airlines. We have a timeline now. We'll walk through that in some of the information that we know to make sure that you're brought up to speed. So let's just jump right on into Bilt. Just a second here. Oh, got to bring it up. There we go. All right. So as far as Bilt, what we did find out is that the deadline was on January 30th. Now, they went ahead and extended it, which is not going to be a major surprise to any of us. They needed to buy as much time as possible on this because obviously the issue that they were having was the fact that they weren't getting the numbers that they were looking for. But they had a very tight timeline for January 30th to have everything active by February 7th. But if you have Bilt, you saw the email come to you all, just like for me, was the fact that it said that they talked with their partners and was able to get a little bit more time. And so now it ends at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight, as far as the last time that you can be able to do it and still be able to have a seamless transition. So what do we now know on top of that? Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. So as soon as I can get that back up, there we go. Oh, sorry about that. Trying to get to my thing here. Oh, we have an issue. Sorry about this. Not getting the right size. There we go. So as far as Bilt, what we're looking at right now is we have until that 11:59 p.m. tonight. Now, as far as rent day, which is today, there are a few things to keep in mind for the Bilt cardholders. Now, first, the main item is the transfer partner is a core live limitless. Now, this is normally a 3-to-2 standard rate ratio as far as the transfers. Now, if you're blue, you'll get a 25% bonus that'll bring you up to a 6-to-5 ratio. Silver will get you 50%, which will bring you to a 1-to-1. If you're gold, you'll have a 75% bonus that'll bring you to a 6-to-7 ratio. And then platinum will be 100%, which will get you to a 3-to-4 ratio. The other thing that they are doing is that they are now introducing the Bilt Cash. If you use $75 of your Bilt Cash, you can increase your status level. Now, if you are already platinum, they will let you bump up to 125% for the use of that $75. So those are positive things. A core live limitless is while it may not necessarily be a major brand, there are a lot of fine hotels throughout North America as well as in the world with it. It's one that I'm going to be staying at in Vancouver at a Fairmont, and they have a fixed rate on their per point basis, essentially, that you'll basically get a credit based upon your points that you have. So it is a fixed rate. It doesn't allow you to necessarily maximize, but it is a very solid return that you can be able to utilize with those points. So you do have through 11:59 p.m. tonight to be able to do that. Now, the other part is, this is the last Bilt rent day if you're on Bilt 1.0. Now, one thing that I will say was a positive that they decided to do was that they waived the 5 transaction minimum to be able to participate in rent day. So if you did not do the 5 transaction minimum because you had so much other stuff going on, you still can be able to do it on your rent. So that is a positive to look forward to. Now, the other thing that we ended up learning was that Bilt 2.0 will have rent day at least through the rest of 2026 calendar year. So they have promised that we will be able to do that through up until January 1st of 2027, and which makes sense for them to do. It's definitely going to be a benefit for the new card holders, and it allows them some time to be able to figure out if the numbers are going to work out right for them. Obviously, they are ultra concerned about people, quote unquote, gaming the system, and this is going to be their opportunity to figure it out. And it's going to be an opportunity for people that have the cards to be able to see what they can do with it. Now, what that will do is, beginning in March, instead of the 1x on everything with the blue card, you'll get 2x on rent day. If you have the Obsidian, you will go from a 3x on either groceries or dining, whichever one you're choosing at that time, to 6x. Your travel will go from 2x to 4x, and then you'll get 2x on everyday purchases. The Palladium will move from 2x to 4x on everything. So those are positive things to be able to see. They obviously will be paying attention to how much of a jump there is in the purchasing power of those cards on rent day versus the other ones. So we'll have to end up looking and see, but we'll see how this plays out. But at least you know that you have it through 2026. Now, the other thing that we did learn, and all of this information is credit to Frequent Miler, who had some excellent information that they were able to get. So if you go back to their at the beginning of Bilt 2.0, they basically put out a chart that showed what the cards would get as far as benefits, as far as the MasterCard Legend versus the World Elite. Because obviously, as you know, the credit card issuers can determine exactly what benefits you get from those. And so what they found was that there were a couple of errors. On the blue card in the negative, on the Obsidian in the positive. So in that chart for the blue card, it said that trip cancellation and interruption protection, as well as trip delay reimbursement, was included with the card. We now know from the list of benefits that is official for that card, they do not have those benefits, and Bilt has confirmed that. On the positive side, the Obsidian card was not supposed to have lost or damaged luggage insurance, and we now know that they do actually have that. So that is a positive that we are seeing from that. We also know that the eBay and Facebook that was excluded, which was almost unprecedented, has now been included in with that as far as items that you can get 4x on. The tax payments will still be excluded, though. That is not added. So that is unfortunate, because obviously a lot of us will be able to gain a good amount of points with the taxes that we do. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the people that do a lot of activity on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, as well as Amazon, and see how they will end up being, how the company will they keep that in place, or will they see some of that hemorrhaging that they didn't want to be able to do? But once again, they're trying to do some course corrections on some things that people are seeing, whether it's people in the YouTube content creation or even in the public newspapers and publications. So we'll have to see how that part ends up working out on that. But that is a mix of positives and negatives for that. And let me pop back in here to see what all is going on with the comments. And Carlos, I see you're in. Appreciate you. Good morning and happy Sunday to everyone. Finally here on time. Hey, always glad to have you. Doesn't matter when you get here. Nurakan, good morning. Appreciate you stopping in. Tim's Points of Adventure, going to let Bilt go for now, going to reevaluate after the quirks are worked out. And I think that's going to be the thing that a lot of people are going to be able to look at, mainly because one of the things they didn't really do, especially as some of this bleeding was happening with them, is there's not enough that they gave to the people that will transition. I think they felt that it was enough that you got a quote unquote seamless transition. So, but there's nothing that a person that chooses to wait is going to get essentially than what we do, other than a bit of the credit pull. Obviously, may be a concern for some, but for some, this is going to make some good sense to just stand back for a minute. Can't hurt. See how the next month goes. So definitely understand that. And then we've got Mr. Coco. Appreciate you stopping in. Anyone transferring to all Core Live Limitless? Yes, I am probably going to do it. Don't have a whole lot of bill points. I haven't spent on the card in a while, but I'm thinking of staying at a Fairmont when I get back to Vancouver after a week or so. So I'm probably going to transfer a bit of those and see how it goes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if everybody else is going to be looking at doing that. And no more Mr. Nice Guy. Forex is nice. It is. It's definitely. I think it's going to be interesting on how much people will try to maximize their purchases on Bilt rent day. Now we obviously talked about Bilt in the Bilt 1.0 version, which was where a lot of people were saying, as well as I was, hey, pay your insurance, pay your utilities, get the 2x on it so that it's just as good as any other credit card you have. Now the question will end up being is if you are with the Palladium at 4x, are you going to do that same kind of thing that would be better than your 2x? And if you're on this Obsidian, do you go on a major grocery haul for that 6x and then order your travel on the 4x as well? And then, of course, you have the 2x. So I think Bilt Rent Day can be lucrative for everybody. The question will end up being, there's a reason why they set that date of just for this year of 2026. They're going to try to protect themselves so that they can be able to reduce back if they see too much of it going on. So hopefully they stay with it and they build into their financial model that, yes, some of us are going to do that, even though they view it as gaming the system. So Forex is definitely nice. I see that Sanello, it says Rent Day is going to be amazingly awesome for the Obsidian and Palladium, especially with the point accelerator. And that's true too. The point accelerator, if you've got the build cash to be able to do it, is going to be something that will help it along as well. It's just going to be a matter of how much the people that have those cards are going to be committed and how much they can get out of it for that outsized value. And we need to just prepare and expect, enjoy the year. If you're able to truly maximize those two cards, especially, even the blue card at 2x is not bad if that's where you were going to begin with. It's just going to be the matter of do the best you can with it, enjoy it, but know that there could be a possibility that there's some ratcheting back. Now, it's going to cause them a problem as far as if anything anybody ever gets to have, they don't want to see them lose. You never want to lose what you had. And so they're going to be walking a delicate line. And so like I said, I really hope that they really build in the numbers that, yes, Rent Day, if people are doing it right, are going to really jack up their spend on that one day versus the rest of the year. And hopefully that's enough for them to make the numbers work. So I'm definitely hoping that ends up being the case. Ryan says the Bilt Palladium card might just be worth it for gold status and Rakuten transfer ratio. And I think that makes some sense as far as the gold status and Rakuten ratio. I think what we all want to be able to see is going back to where it's standard that if you have the status of gold or platinum, that every month without fail, you know that you're seeing that 75 to 100% bonus on there, not what they were kind of doing in part of 2025, where they kind of went up and down all over the place, where you couldn't rely that your status truly meant something. Hopefully they've learned from that mistake. And so I would agree that if they can be able to do that, that would work out well. I see LG says, good afternoon. Please forgive me. I know very little about Bilt, but it is the same for mortgages or just rent. It is the same for mortgages. We now have the mortgages under Bilt 2.0, and the same guidelines that are going to manage the rent is going to be the same guidelines that manage the mortgages. So it is still the only mortgage game in town. So it's definitely something we all have to at least factor in. And I see East says 2x for the win. Yeah, I mean, a standard 2x cannot hurt. And once again, that one day, depending upon what card you have, and it could be that 4x on depending on the Palladium. They capped it to, I think, 1,000 points for Bilt 1.0. Yeah, it was a basically, I thought, was a bonus that they provided as far as those 1,000 points, because before the 1,000 point threshold, it was a higher number that you could be able to get. I've seen some places talk about a maximum kind of thing, and I think that's kind of incorrect. But the 1,000 points was basically the bonus that you could be able to get with this. So I don't know if the maximum is still going to be that. Obviously, that caps it a bit if that's the case. So that's something that we'll have to keep in mind. So Nurakan says, so with the point accelerator on the Palladium on red day, will that be 6x back on all purchases? It would appear that would be the case. We've not seen any language or confirmation directly from Bilt that says that they will not do that. So I think that we're going to find out more through this month of through the month of February in preparation for March, because there's going to be a lot of confirmations that all of us are going to be looking for as far as what's the caps on these. Is there a cap? And what does that point accelerator, does it create its own cap? So I think we're going to learn a lot during the month of February in preparation of March. These are going to be questions that they got to know we're all going to be asking. So I'm going to hope that they are going to be prepared for it. But I'd hate to say that we know that answer right now. And I see Sinello says on the Palladium, you'd have to spend $500 and $333 to max it out on the rent day bonus cap of 1,000. Yeah, and that's if that's going to be the bonus cap that we're going to officially see. And I keep saying officially because we've seen so much movement that has gone on. I really want to be able to hear it from somebody with Bilt as we are in the month of February, and that it's something we can truly rely on. But definitely understand what you're saying on that. And says Nuricon for 5x. And maximum, I believe it's still here. And I agree, I've seen it. And you're probably right. And it obviously protects them from the downside of us going too crazy with it. So we'll have to kind of end up seeing, but let's let that part play out, I would say. Thanks, Anello. Yep, agreed. And so that's the main things that I wanted to make sure to be able to share as far as where we're at with Bilt, so that for anybody that's on the fence about it, this is the last go around, at least for the seamless aspect of it, if you already have the Bilt card. And then if you're a person that doesn't have the Bilt card but are considering it, there may be some interesting aspect. If I didn't have the Bilt card, and of course, you don't get there's no real welcome bonus with the Obsidian. You do have the welcome bonus with the Palladium. Is that there's not going to be there's not harm in waiting a week, maybe waiting 2 weeks, as long as you know you have the card in time to be able to do what you would want to, and maybe you might get some more additional information that might be beneficial to you. So those are just the thoughts to have on that, but I wanted to definitely lead with Bilt on that topic as we get started with things. So let's move on to the weekly briefing, which we have a lot of credit card welcome bonus elevations that have come up in the last week that I want to be able to share with you all. And it's become interesting as far as how they do these days. So as far as American Express, they are only we've got the personal Delta Sky Miles credit cards. And now we do have what they've been doing as of late. They've been giving us about a couple of months to be able to utilize that, to take advantage of these elevated offers. And we see that with the personal cards on the Sky Miles Gold, Sky Miles Platinum, and the Sky Miles Reserve, with the end date of April 1st. Now, my wife has the Gold, I have the Platinum. Definitely love the Gold, love the value that you can get out of that card with the no annual fee in the first year. I made a mistake by getting the Platinum. I thought I was going to use it as far as the companion certificate, which is the main reason you get it for, but I made a mistake in it. So I will be looking to cut my having the card myself. I just don't get enough out of it. So that's the thing you want to mainly pay attention to for the Sky Miles Platinum and the Sky Miles Reserve, is you really want to know that you're going to take that flight which is in the regular class for SkyMiles Platinum, and then you have the option of doing premium or first class for the SkyMiles Reserve. You do have to spend for that first ticket, though. You can't use points. So, but if those are kind of fit, that's something to look at. Hawaiian Airlines through the Bank of Hawaii has an elevated offer on their card, $99 annual fee, 60,000 at most points after $2,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. So that's good to be able to see from them. Bank of America, we still have the Atmos cards. We've talked about those a bit. Capital One with their $95 venture card, 75,000 miles. They've thrown in the $250 travel credit as part of the welcome bonus, but they didn't increase the required spend on it of $4,000 in the first 3 months, which is good to see. For Chase, we have the 2 Marriott cards, the Bold at no annual fee with 2 free nights after spending $1,000 in the first 3 months. The Bonvoy Boundless has 5 free nights after spending $3,000 in the first 3 months. We still have the Avios cards that have the 90,000 points after $5,000 to spend. That runs through March 11th for that promotion. Chase, we ended up getting some additional items on there, but let's start with the World of Hyatt. $95 annual fee credit card. Now it's a 2-part to get to 5 nights. 3 nights after $5,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. You'll get an additional 2 nights after $15,000 in purchases in the first 6 months. Now, I do want to note that if you did go all the way with those 2 tranches, you will actually get to 7 nights. You'll get the 6th night because you've hit the $15,000 spend in a 1-year period or in a year. You'll also get the 7th night because you would have accumulated 15,000 points for that, and 15,000 points will basically earn you a 7th night in category. Now, basically what I'm saying is that spend of 15,000 minimum, if it's 1x, is enough for you to have a regular point value to get a category 1 to 4, which would normally be 12,000 at the off-peak, 15 normal, and 18,000 if it's peak. So you can think about it that way. Obviously, if you spend more and earn more points, then you might be able to do something. So I don't know how many people are going to go 15 grand on the card, but I do want to make sure you're aware of it. Now, we do have the United credit cards that we have for the United Explorer. Nice entry point. Once again, no annual fee, $150 in the second year, 70,000 points after $3,000 in spend in the first 3 months. Now, that's going to be May 20th as far as that end date. And that's the same for the United Business, which has similar components to it as the United Explorer. That one has 100,000 points, $2,000 PQPs after $5,000 in spend in the first 3 months. Now, the United Quest card, which has been a pretty strong mid-level card for them with a $350 annual fee, that one has 80,000 points in 3,000 PQPs after $4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. That end date is April the 1st. Then last but not least is the United Club Business, which is the premium card that gets you the club access for that same welcome bonus as the United Business at the $150 annual fee and the same required spend. So those are to keep your eye on. And we still have the IHG One Rewards cards. The no annual fee, you can get up to 100,000 points, 70,000, actually the 100,000 points after 2,000 in purchases, and then you can get an additional 30,000 points. I don't consider that really a welcome bonus because it requires additional spend to get there on that. But you can get up to 30,000 extra points for that. If you have the IHG, if you're looking at the IHG One Rewards Premier, 175,000 points after $5,000 in purchases for that one. The Citi cards, we've talked about them before. They're on their 100th anniversary, and we'll be talking about Citi shortly as far as Barclays. And those cards still have no end date on those elevated offers, as well as Wells Fargo's Choice Privileges MasterCard, 60,000 points for $1,000 in spend, no annual fee on that credit card as well. And let's see here. And I see Stacy's popped in. Appreciate you stopping in. Happy Sunday. That World of Hyatt card is looking quite tempting. Have they ever had this offer before? So the 5 nights, and somebody might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I think I thought I've seen it one time with that second piece of that additional spend. To be honest, I'm not totally sure, Stacy, if they've had a better one without the spend on it, but it's definitely something I'll look up. And if anybody else has any thoughts about that, definitely chime in with it. And I see that Eat Sleep says it's tempting. It is. It's an interesting dynamic if depending on your spend that you have. 5 nights with the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, and with the possibility of making the move to in time to go after the Ritz-Carlton card, or World of Hyatt on the category 1 to 4 for that one. And obviously, if you've got the spend and you're okay with it, getting up to 6 to 7 nights is not bad at all for that. So I think it is an interesting aspect. I think it's going to definitely give some people some pause to give it some real consideration. So I completely agree with you on that. Let's talk about a little bit of the quick notes that we have. So Southwest started with the assigned seating has arrived for these, and the extra legroom seats has started. There's basically 4 categories, and I'll just touch on them briefly. Basic, which is essentially basic economy. Your seats are going to get assigned at check-in. Choice is basically you'll have standard seat selection. Choice preferred, you'll get standard seat selection, including the preferred seats. Now, preferred seats for Southwest is really just seats that are closer to the front, is what that ends up meaning. And then Choice Extra is including those extra legroom seats. So don't know about you. I've still have to probably go visit my son. And once again, as I've talked about, only Southwest is the only one that goes there as a straight shot for me. So I will be trying that out probably sooner than later for that. So I'll definitely chime in with my comments on it. Now, we do have new Centurion rules that are going to be effective in July. And we never want to lose benefits, but this is, I don't think for many people, this is going to be something that's going to be a major deal breaker for them. Now, first, these policies are not applying across the board to every Centurion lounge, but it does involve every US-based Centurion lounge, London Heathrow, Haneda, Hong Kong, Sydney, and Melbourne, as far as Australia. So the first item is guests must, at that point, must travel with the cardholder on the same itinerary. Now, for most people, this is probably not a big deal, but if you are someone with a business platinum and you have people that are going to be going to many different locations, but not everybody has a business platinum card as an authorized user or such that can be able to utilize it, this is the ones that it will be affected by it. It's unfortunate, but obviously American Express has to continue to do what they can with what they believe is the least amount of disruption to continue to try to reduce down the numbers in those Centurion lounges. We hear about a lot of the airline locations, whether they close to renovate to expand. We don't really hear, at least I've not necessarily heard that many times at all from American Express on their Centurion. You don't hear normally about expansions from them. You might hear about a new location, but not the expansions that we see from the airlines. And so because of that, they have to continue to push harder to try to reduce their numbers. The second part of their restriction is the fact that layovers will now have a cap of 5 hours prior to departure. Now, obviously, that's not going to be ideal for people that have significant delays. I've definitely had my case where I had the flight came in late to go up to JFK, and I was at a Delta Sky Club for, I think, more than 5 hours for that. But that was rare. That's the only time I've ever been that thrown off. Now, this is applying to all of the card holders of not just the American Express cards, but it also applies to the Delta Sky Miles Reserve business and personal credit cards. So things to keep in mind as we get into July for that. I wanted to also touch on the Ritz-Carlton Lodge. This is the first of its kind, and it's going to be located in Australia in the Blue Mountains. And it's a partnership between Emirates and Marriott with the Ritz-Carlton. It's going to be a 40-room, and what they call it is the Emirates Walgun Valley Lodge. It's going to open in mid-2026, and it's on a 7,000-acre conservation reserve, and it's an all-inclusive. Now, even though we're obviously not that far from mid-2026, I've not seen anything talk about the cost in dollars or points or any of the specifics of what you can expect for an all-inclusive. So we can keep an eye on it, but I expect that this is not going to be a low price by any means. But at least it's another option out there for those that have a lot of those points or dollars. The second part that we look at is no real ID. Now, we obviously know that real ID was supposed to be fully implemented, I think, in the last year or so. But we always knew, and I'm sure you all probably have family members that don't have real ID for whatever reason. And there's enough of them that they had to create a workaround. So now we have the official workaround that starts February 1st, not kind of the impromptu that's been going on. And that is starting February 1st, TSA will charge people that don't have real ID, or if they may have forgotten that ID, $45. They're going to they're going to get your biometric information and check you against the no-fly list. Now, payment can be made in advance if you know you don't have a real ID. And those payments will allow for a 10-day time frame where you don't have to have it redone. But if you're going to be, even if you depart and you do this, and if you're gone more than 10 days, you're going to have to pay it again to be able to deal with that. So it's just something, at least it's some structured aspect for that, but definitely include that you're going to have more time that you need to spend. Two other items, Air Canada miles. They have up to 100% when you're buying those miles, and that at 100% will bring the cents per mile under whatever the quote unquote benchmark is. Once again, I always tell you all determine the value of your points, whether you're buying them, transferring them, or accumulating them. But for in this case, 1.37 cents per mile is a good rate if you needed to buy those points. $500,000 is the limit annually. Now, as far as transfer bonuses, Capital One has come out with 30% transfer bonus on Japan Airlines. Now, that's one of their 3 new partners, including I Prefer as far as the hotels, and Qatar as far as the airlines. Now, if you are going to look at doing any kind of transfer with Japan Airlines, keep in mind that new Japan Airline accounts have a 7-day waiting period before it will accept transfer points. So we talked about this when we talked about Bilt, when they got involved with Japan Airlines, to go ahead and get that done quick. If you haven't done it, and if you are interested with Capital One, go ahead and make sure to get that account set up. Even if you don't do the transfer, there's obviously no downside to doing it. Chase has 50% on the Marriott Bonvoy. Once again, as we always know, this might be a case for topping off a few points, but as far as the math, it's not an ideal situation to do that. But once again, we always like options to have available for us. And I see that, let's see, it's tempting. And Eat Sleep Point says, what's the 7,000? Oh, the 7,000 acre conservation space for the new Ritz-Carlton Lodge. That's going to be that first one location in Australia. That's a partnership with Emirates and Marriott with the Ritz-Carlton. So that's what that one is. And a passport works though. Yeah, it definitely works though. But I've definitely have people and know people that did not get the real ID card and don't have a passport either. But you're definitely right. Passports will work on that. So let's move to the strategy session, which is going to go over what we now know as far as the conversion of Barclays American Airlines cards to Citi. Now, it seems like it kind of catches me off guard that it was the end of 2024 when we learned that Citi had re-signed with American Airlines and that they would be the sole provider of the credit cards. It's been a while and we've heard about it, but now we have a firm timeline. There's also a landing page that you can be able to get questions answered in time frame, as well as I'm sure they'll update it. And I'll of course have that in the description as a link. So the timeline is as follows. April 24th is when the conversion to Citi begins. And from April 24th through April 26th, you will not have access to your online or mobile accounts with Barclays or with Citi. And then they will have the conversion, it will be complete April 27th. Now, those aspects are just really from the IT and the your account setup. It's not the fact of you getting the cards, though. They are saying that the new Citi cards will be sent out beginning the 27th, but people should not expect to see those cards until in the 6 to 8 week range, which is pretty significant. But you will be able to still use your card until you receive your new issued card. So you're not going to have a gap if you are a Barclays credit card holder. Now we have what the conversions look like. Now it basically starts with the Aviator World Elite. That one will match up with the AAdvantage Miles Up card with Citi. The AAdvantage Aviator Blue will match with the AAdvantage Gold from Citi. The Aviator Red will match with the Platinum Select. The Aviator Silver, which was one that you really couldn't even get your hands on, for, at least you couldn't apply for it. That's going to go to the AAdvantage Globe, which is obviously the newest mid-tier card for American Airlines. Then from that, the Aviator Business will match up with the AAdvantage Business. Now, what could end up happening is you can result in having two of the same card, because you may have the AAdvantage Globe and then you took the welcome bonus on it while you still had an Aviator Silver. Well, now you're going to transfer to that. And as of right now, it appears that you can have two of the same card through this conversion. We don't know if they're going to try to have any kind of other outlets for you to be able to potentially bump up or bump down and be able to get something from it. I think we'll know more about that as people decide if they don't want to have two of the same thing. Obviously, they know how many people will be in that situation to potentially get to. Now, the converted Barclays cardholders will be subject to the same welcome bonus guidelines as current Citi cardholders. So there is nothing that will change with that for the Barclays cardholders. So like I mentioned, I said I will have that link in the description for everybody to be able to see how that ends up going. But we got a long road for that. The conversion IT portion ends April 27th, but you're still going to have about 4 to 8 weeks to be able to see what ends up happening. And I see Ryan talks about the passport. Yep, I hate carrying it around. Ryan said, do you think it makes sense to get the Platinum card if I already have the Aviator Red, stock up on the American Airlines miles? I think that's going to be the biggest thing that people are going to have to try to make that determination of where there may be some ways to really get some points out of the system for this. And I have to admit, I've not read enough yet. That'll be something I do this week to see, are there some spots for that? I don't have, for Citi, I only have the Strata Premier mid-level card. I know my wife gets solicited a lot for the American Airlines card. So we're trying to figure out, as we come up with this strategy, even though we're in February now, of what are we going to try to do with credit cards and where can we make the most hay of this. As I've mentioned before, the timing and the planning is everything for me and my wife, because we don't really have a huge amount of spend that I can rely on to get to these welcome bonuses. And I already have the Capital One to look at right now that I'm working my way through. So we'll end up seeing how that goes. And I see Sanillo says, will the transition to Citi count as a new account for 524? Don't know. I did look through the landing page, and I don't. It didn't mention anything about that. I think that what'll probably end up happening is over probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to get a better answer on that. I know, and I obviously give a lot of credit to Frequent Miler. I think that they do an excellent job of reaching out to these companies and getting information. So we don't really know for that. I think we'll have to kind of hold pat and wait and see what happens over the next 2 to 3 weeks is my guess. And if so, I'll probably cancel. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for this. Obviously, these conversions of what ends up happening for it, and a lot of decisions to be made that are going around. So, couple of things I'll note for the members of the advisory board. For the members, I will have 2 videos for you all to see today, and I will release those 2 during the week for everybody that's good enough to watch. And I appreciate y'all's support, and especially thank the members. And if you're a member, thank you. And if you are considering it, jump in and see if it's worth it. Early videos, as well as try to get a live stream done each week, and to get little tidbits of information out to the members, so they can try to stay ahead of things for that. And we'll see how that ends up going. So the 2 videos that'll be done is the the Venture, because we obviously have the change in their lounge policy that begins now. So just some thoughts I have about that, and really, is it a big deal and who does it impact? And then also about 5 kind of hidden benefits that I think people are missing out on the American Airlines Citi Globe card at $350 that I think can really can make it a valuable card. And it's one I'm definitely looking at myself. So I'll be interested to see what you all's thoughts are on that. But any other thoughts or going on with it? I know that when it comes to Bilt, I've been very skeptical of it, still do, but credit where credit is due, giving everybody a defined period to know that you're going to be able to take advantage of rent day through the rest of this year is a positive. It's something that people can kind of hang their hat on. We'll see what happens in 2027, but for now, that'll be something there. And if they can really go back to the way they did it, where gold and platinum status meant a reliable transfer bonus increase without fail, that's going to help them a lot with the Palladium card holders that get the gold status for that period of time, and to continue holding it, as well as everyone else. So I think those are going to be some interesting things for us to look at going ahead. I see that Eat Sleep said up to $100 back on in-flight purchases every calendar year, earn up to $100 in statement credits on in-flight purchases when you use the card on American Airlines. Yeah, even with American Airlines, obviously getting almost to the point of having that free Wi-Fi, so you do kind of lose that aspect there. The point is, there's still a lot to get out of that card, and there's even a couple of other additional things that I end up mentioning about it. So but you're definitely right about that. But does anybody have any other things that we need to touch on that we may not have talked about today? Interesting week ahead. Always something new that's coming out. We also even have new Avelo credit card that's being issued by Cardless, which obviously currently has the Bilt credit card. And so that's an interesting one for people. I'm going to do a video on that and kind of bring everybody up to speed on Avelo for that. So I'll be looking at doing that as well. But if there's not anything else, I cannot thank you all for taking y'all's time to spend with me. Over the next couple weeks, we're going to definitely do it again at noon next Sunday. I'll still be in town here in the great state of Ohio. But then the following Sunday, for that, I'll be in Taiwan, and I will probably change the time for us to do that, but we'll have more time to talk about that. And then the Sunday after that, I'm in China, and unfortunately, the internet and access to YouTube is very difficult to be able to do. But we'll look at what we can do with that to get together on that, so I can really appreciate all of you all's time of hanging with me. Central Ohio, Stacy, in the great city, well, outside of Columbus. Technically, not in Columbus, but just outside of it. And Eat Sleep said, "Final thoughts. Bilt is still the best." And as much as I'm skeptical about Bilt, I know that there's going to be people that are going to be able to make this work for them, and I'm happy for it. And I think it's all about expectations. When you have an expectation that you should be able to get to easily get your point per dollar on your rent or your mortgage, and you don't see it, and it becomes more difficult, you get a bit jaded, at least in my case. But the reality is that Bilt still continues to be the only game in town, and we'll just have to see what happens. And credit to them, like I said, as far as at least making some changes and some adjustments to try to make this thing work for them. So I really do appreciate it. And say, Chad Money Minutes, appreciate you stopping in. Definitely always check out Chad for his perspectives. Always seems to pop out one. You never know when he's going to do it, but it's always good to be able to see when he does it. So really appreciate it. Eat Sleep, appreciate it. Taiwan, yeah, look forward to it. This was a points and mile thing. Excuse me. Alaska miles to fly to Vancouver from Central Ohio, taking Air France. I think it was 68,000 points each way to fly business class China Airlines to Taiwan. And then I was originally going to stay in Taiwan for 7 days, and that's for the Lunar New Year that they have there. But there was another deal that was from Air France to fly from Taipei to either Kuala Lumpur in the Philippines or to Shanghai. And I think there was one other place you could do at a reduced price to fly business class. So then I included the Shanghai trip as part of it. So it's a perfect example of points and miles, of being able to make something out of something that I probably wouldn't even have thought about, and to be able to make it ended up happening for just quote unquote the average person for it. I think I'm into it for 155,000 Air France miles for me, and 155,000 for my wife. All the hotel stays are either I'm staying at Hyatt in over at the Grand Hyatt in Taipei, and so we used Hyatt points for that. I did use a couple of nights of the Fine Hotel and Resorts to stay there as well for that. And then in Shanghai, it's all Fine Hotel and Resorts for, well, I say all, but as far as the $300 credits, 2 out of the 4 nights I'm there. And then the booking for the Vancouver trip, and that's part of it, is Fine Hotel and Resorts. And then I did the Accor Live Limitless points that I got from Mesa before they petered out, to be able to go to the Fairmont in the airport over at Vancouver. So it's a good it's a trip that I'm looking forward to. I can try to swing one trip like this a year if I'm lucky. But it's a lot of planning because of our schedules, and I'm sure for many of you all as well. You're trying to plan between full-time jobs and what vacation you can be able to use. But that's the beauty of points and miles, and I just want everybody to at least be aware of it. And thank you so much, Stacy. Stacy, really looking forward to it. Appreciate it. Up northeast or outside of Youngstown. I used to work where I took care of park grants all around the state of Ohio. So I traveled the whole state for probably I think I did it for about 5 years. And so got up to Youngstown a lot for that. And so underrated town, a lot of very good people that's there. So thanks for sharing that. Enjoy the vacation. Appreciate it, Nurakan. Always appreciate the kind words. Taipei's a nice airport. I'm glad to hear that. The one downside I have with the whole Taipei trip is in order to get the good point value to fly to Shanghai from Taipei, and now I got to go back to Taipei, is I've got a lot of hours. I get to Taipei at like 2 in the afternoon, but I don't fly out of Taipei to go back to Vancouver until 11:30 at night. And so I don't know what I hear that there's enough to do there to be able to kill some time. And then, of course, you can get to the lounge 3 hours ahead of time. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm still trying to pick up on what I'm going to do with all those hours. And hello, Lincoln, appreciate you stopping in. And Chad Money Miss, northeast outside of Youngstown. I did work at Trumbull Medical at Trumbull County. Definitely am aware of that. So really appreciate all the good information from you all, and definitely make sure to comment anything that's on your mind. Always appreciate y'all's input. Love doing these with you all on Sundays, and we'll make sure we do it again next Sunday. And Tim says, enjoy the trips. Well deserved, and always grateful for your research. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all spending time with me. And if there's, make sure to chime in on the comment section of anything that y'all got on mind, and we'll do it again next week. Thank y'all so much. I'll talk with y'all soon.